What is going on YouTube? Running on Sports back here with another video. Today is our Los Angeles Rams off-season review. Right now is Friday, August the 13th, Friday the 13th actually, and this game is actually this episode of our off-season review videos is being recorded during halftime of the Dallas Cowboys versus Arizona Cardinals preseason game. The current score is Cowboys 6, Cardinals 10. I believe I had the Cardinals winning this game, so hopeful that they will come out on top. The Titans defeated the Falcons tonight 23-3, and the Bills with a game-winning field goal at the end of the game 16-5. And so we'll be releasing our preseason week 1 review, giving you guys our thoughts on all these games. But tomorrow we got 5 games on that I will be watching, and I'm really excited to talk about those games. Those games are the Miami Dolphins versus the Chicago Bears, the Denver Broncos versus the Minnesota Vikings, and the Cleveland Browns versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then 6 o'clock, the Seattle Seahawks versus the Las Vegas Raiders. And then the Chargers versus the Rams, the Battle of LA, the two teams in LA. And then the Panthers and Colts on Sunday. We'll be talking about a lot of those games and a little bit of the other games as well, but those will be the main games that I will be watching over this weekend. So with that being said, follow our social media pages at runningun_sports on Instagram and at runningunsports on TikTok, and subscribe for when our preseason week 1 video does come out. Really excited to drop it. Will be a lot of fun, and then a preseason week 2 video will be coming out as well, and that will be a lot of fun to talk about. So that being said, let's get right into the video with the Los Angeles Rams going 10-6, and only 2 of 6 of their losses were to playoff teams, and the only losses that they had that were to playoff teams was the Seattle Seahawks and the Buffalo Bills. They were beat pretty badly by the Bills, and 4 non-playoff team losses is just not good. More than half of their losses are to teams that they really should have beat, and they made it farther than the Seattle Seahawks, a team that beat them, that won their division. And that's just unacceptable. And if they had won the games that they should have, if you give them the 12-4 or 13-3, they're at 12-4. They're tied with the Seahawks, and I don't know how the tiebreaker stacks up, but they're definitely have a shot at number 1 in the division. And then 13-3, they win the division, and so it shows you that every game counts, every game matters. And in the NBA, where you have 82 games, it's not like that so much, or like the MLB where you have 160 plus games, but there's only 16 games this year, 17 games, and it matters big time. And a game that they really should have won is the New York Jets game. That's terrible that they lost that game, considering the fact that the New York Jets had not won a game at the time, and San Francisco losing to them twice, swept by them. You never want to be swept by a division rival, and San Francisco wasn't that good of a team this past season, and to lose to them really does not help their case at all. Why they're a playoff team. But Miami, a team that was really, if they were in the NFC, they would have made the playoffs. So, if you give them that game, they're 13-3. If not, it's 12-4. Miami's a loss that is acceptable in my opinion, but the Jets just nowhere near acceptable. A winless team comes in and beats you at home too, which is really, really embarrassing. And I think that it comes down to Jared Goff, and he just can't perform to the level that he was expected to. And with the defense being already so great, he can't pull through and perform the way they need him to, even with the help of the defense. And if Jared Goff did not have the defense that he has, he would probably be one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, statistically and realistically. And it might sound really harsh, but it's true. You look at the stats right now, and the Rams really, in my opinion, have the best defense in the NFL. And Jared Goff, his 2020 stats: 3,952 passing yards, ranked 14th in the NFL. 20 touchdowns, ranked 19th in the NFL. 13 interceptions, tied 31st in the NFL. The second almost the second worst in the NFL, and you know to he's got to help his defense out big time because they help him out to an insane amount that they get him the ball a lot, and whether it is turnovers or just being a tough defense and making the other team punt the ball or turn the ball over on downs, whatever it may be, he he gives the ball right back, the other team that is, and makes the defense go out there and have to play, again, and they're gonna get tired, and that's why they lose some of the games that they shouldn't lose because their defense can't do everything, and sometimes they do everything, but if they're tired enough, then it just can't can't work and won't work, and that's not really it's not the defense's fault for sure. It's just the offense and Jared Goff's fault. And I don't think Jared Goff really has any elite weapons. He's Cooper Kupp, a, a good wide receiver, but nowhere near elite wide receiver. No one thinks of Cooper Kupp as an elite wide receiver. At least I don't. He was the leading wide receiver for the 2020 team. 92 receptions, 974 yards, and 3 touchdowns, 10.6 yards per catch, and really not too bad of stats right there. And their second leading receiver, Robert Woods, 90 receptions, 936 yards, and 6 touchdowns, and 10.4 yards per catch. And I just think that he needs a star receiver he can throw the ball to. And they had a chance at Julio Jones, obviously did not get him, but why they didn't go after him is a really big question because that would make the team a whole lot better. And granted, Jared Goff is no longer with the team. Anyone who comes in is not going to have that good of weapons at receiver. And they bring in Deshaun Jackson, and Deshaun Jackson, yes, has had some great years, but he is very old. And I'm a big fan of Deshaun Jackson, but to the point where I'd say he's pretty much washed, and I don't think he's going to add much value to the team. I think he might be able to help out with the younger wide receivers and coach them up possibly, but I just don't think that he's going to be as valued as they a lot of Rams fans and other NFL people think, and that's just my opinion. But if you look at it this way, DK Metcalf, probably the best wide receiver and the second best to DeAndre Hopkins, second best wide receiver in the NFC West to DeAndre Hopkins, but 83 receptions, 1,300 yards, and 10 touchdowns, 15.7 yards per catch. And both Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods have more receptions than DK Metcalf, but two different types of offense. The Seattle Seahawks, we see them a lot of the time. They like the big plays, and the Rams, they like to nickel and dime it down the field. But they're not too far off of where DK Metcalf is from. If you combine it, obviously they have more receiving yards and way more receptions because it's two people, but they don't have the same amount of touchdowns. And Cam Akers this year is really got to do well, or the passing game's got to improve big time. One of the two things is going to need to happen, or else they're not going to be too successful on the offensive side of the ball. The defense, I'm not really worried about. We're not going to talk about much. We just know how good that team is on the defensive side of the ball. Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, unreal duo on the defensive side of the ball, and a nightmare for anyone to face. But like I said, their offense needs to improve, whether it's the rushing game becoming elite or the passing game getting better. And they're gonna need Cam Akers to play like Todd Gurley used to play, and Todd Gurley, a guy that I really thought he was very good, but obviously did not. Maybe he was a little overhyped, but I was a big fan of Todd Gurley, but unfortunately did not pan out as well as we thought after the injury, and sad to see because I was really liked Todd Gurley a lot. Looking at the free agency now for the Los Angeles Rams, not too big of a free agency. Picking up Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff in the trade. And do I think Matthew Stafford is going to come in and make this team go undefeated? No, not at all. But I think Matthew Stafford is definitely better than Jared Goff. Way more experience, but a whole lot of experience of being inconsistent. And I think that doesn't help me think Matthew Stafford's going to just turn this team around. But at the same time, Matthew Stafford has never had a defense as close to as good or even as good as this defense he has right now. And the best defense in the NFL, not the best receiving weapons, but a pretty good running back in Cam Akers, and I think that will really make that team do a whole lot better. And Matthew Stafford, we'll see how good he actually is. He has zero excuses this season, and if he does bad this season, then he's a bad quarterback and has really there's no other explanation for it because he has all the tools he needs to succeed, and the way people are expecting him to do as well as he is, I think that there's definitely no argument of why he should not make the playoffs this year. And Deshaun Jackson, wide receiver from the Eagles, another move that, I just think that the Rams, if I had one word to describe the Rams offseason, it'd be overhyped because unless some dramatic things happen with Deshaun Jackson and Jared Goff, nothing really is that big of a deal. Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff was a big trade, but we'll see how big of a trade it actually is in this upcoming season, and it'll be interesting to see. They lost a couple of players. Jared Goff, quarterback, obviously goes to the Detroit Lions. They also lose Michael Brockers, defensive lineman, to the Detroit Lions, and Gerald Everett, tight end, goes to the division rival Seattle Seahawks. And decent loss there. Gerald Everett, a pretty solid option for the number one tight end. And Seattle is not really that big for using tight ends, so we'll see how well he does there in a system that doesn't really utilize their tight ends as much as some other teams do. And not saying that the Rams really did, because I think they really relied on the run game and the play action pass and passing two guys out of the backfield. But Gerald Everett, don't want to lose a guy to your division rival. So looking at their draft class, not really that exciting of a draft class for them. In the second round, they picked up Tutu Atwell, wide receiver from Louisville. Good pickup to add depth at the wide receiver position, a position that they really lack depth at. And in the fourth round, they picked up Jacob Hams, tight end from UCF, and obviously a replacement for Gerald Everett, and we'll see how well he does. But a lot of their other picks were wasted on the defensive side of the ball, which I'm all for adding depth, but that team does not need to add any more defensive players to that team, and that was their only offensive players selected in this year's draft, and they needed some weapons at wide receiver, and we'll see if they do something in free agency or trades. But right now, I just didn't like that draft class at all for them. But I really think that this team's going to be something special next year. They might be the second team in a row to play in the home Super Bowl, but I just think that the Buccaneers are going to do better in the playoffs. But I think that they're going to have a great regular season. The Rams will. They'll go 16-7, and I kind of predict that they'll lose to the Bucs in the NFC Championship. That will wrap it up for today's video. If you guys have not already, please leave a like down below, subscribe, and share this with your friends. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.